뭐가 계속 저기 오스카가 S 시리즈 관련된 거, 그다음에 거기에 관련된 데이터 스트럭처, 그다음에 그거하고 연동해가지고 어떻게 분석을 해야 되는지에 대해서 OPUS 같은 경우 그래서 그런 관련 내용을 위주로 일단 설명을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 시작 바로 하겠습니다. 오케이 보세요.
Okay. Now, good. So I heard that it doesn't work so well with this microphone before, so switch now to this. Hopefully it will be better this session. So now we'll talk about S-series and IPS, and it will be from Sytecon as a consultant and also provider of software. Our experiences and lessons learned from adapting to the S-series and other standards, but also with a special focus on facilitating decision support and how the S-series and IPS fits together with our approach for analysis-driven LCM and decision support. So, not sure if you can read all the way in the back, but this is from the website of ASD, where they introduced the S-series, and just wanted to highlight what they present as the objective of the S-series: to ensure effective and efficient support for defense and civilian systems through their life cycle, and to implement IPS across the entire system life cycle, from the requirement development to the disposal. Is still okay? Or? Yeah. Closer? Yeah. It also talks about how to effectively manage and support complex systems, maximizing system availability and readiness while reducing lifecycle costs. So I think this is more or less exactly how we always introduce OPUS suite. We use the same words, and that's what we talked about in the previous presentation. It's about managing technical systems in all phases of the life cycle, ensure readiness and mission effectiveness and cost effectiveness, and so forth. So I think that illustrates that it's really two different things that you provide through the S-series and OPUS suite, but with the same objective, which is again connecting back to this slide to ensure that we get enhanced capabilities and readiness and responsiveness and so forth at an affordable through-line cost. And then we can also connect back to this slide from my previous presentation with the different cornerstones, with analysis, providing information, and having the structure and the management to succeed with LCM and Ram-C. And yeah, as we said, OPUS suite is really providing the analytical capabilities. And here you can say that S-series specification really is a way to provide guidance for the other two. It provides a framework and a structure for setting the management and the strategy with milestones and checkpoints and sometimes requirements and sometimes guidelines on how to work effectively with IPS and lifecycle management. And it also provides specifications for the data handling to how to provide the information needed. So it has a data model and exchange specification on XML schema for how to exchange information and exchange data between the different teams and the different parts of the S-series specification and between different software. So those are two requirements of the S-series. So they really support and complement each other very well. You get a lot from the series specification on how to work with this, but you also need the analytical capability to really make the most of it. So you can say that the S-series normally tells you what to do and guidance on things aspects to think of and so on, but it doesn't really tell you how to achieve high cost effectiveness. So you need analytical capability for that. So just briefly on the S-series specification, it really provides, it's very comprehensive and large documents, 7 different specifications defining 12 different IPS elements and 48 major activities, and for each activity there are a list of related deliverables. It provides some requirements of things you have to do, but it's mostly a collection of best practices, so guidelines of how to work effectively within IPS. And it emphasizes that each project team should tailor the use of S-series to the needs of that project. So it really provides a handbook and so on how to do it, and then you can pick the parts that you want to do, and it also emphasizes that it should be agreed between all the involved parties, between the government and the supplier, how this should be used and what parts apply and so on. And then it provides a lot of the models also describe the data elements to the formats for how to store data and how to exchange it. This is from the overview S-series specification SX000I, and it's quite a good document to get a full understanding of how to use it. But it defines the objectives as these 4 things: design for support, then develop support for the design, acquire the support, and provide the support. So I think that's very much in line with what we talked about before as well, that even though the IPS focus primarily on the product support, it's also a big objective to make sure that you get product design that can be supported during the life cycle. And just connecting back to this, that it should be viewed as a complete picture, system-based approach where product design cannot be isolated from systems engineering, and there's a lot of content in the S-series specification about how to do that as well. It also emphasizes the life cycle perspective, and that you have to get started really early in the program. Already in the early system concept definition, the work with the product support should start. And it also mentions what we saw before, that a big part of the LCC, the decisions that are made early on, will be deciding what the LCC later on will be. So connecting back to this, and that's really the purpose of IPS, also to make sure that we have decision support for all these milestones as well. So it's really another side of making sure that we have the network and the structure and so on to get decision support. And it also provides a lot of guidance on key milestones. So here there are some required milestones through the project. And we can see that it starts already in the preparation phase where the support is prepared. Some of the first documents to provide there is the operational requirements document and the usage requirements document, which is provided by the end customer or the user, the government. And then there are a number of other each milestone there are different deliverables and documents that should be provided, and there are also a list of who is main responsible for providing it and so on. And I think here it's also emphasizing this need to have collaboration and a joint perspective on how this work with IPS is going to work during the project. So, connecting back to this, that we see that the model and the analysis often provide this collaboration platform, and it's also emphasized by the S-series to have high transparency between the parties and to share a common understanding of what KPIs to use and how to provide data and what the operational requirements we are dimensioning for, all those things needs to be clearly agreed between the parties. So here is an example from a Swedish project, the Sytecon program, where they actually worked with exactly this philosophy. It was quite a number of years ago, so it was not conducted according to the IPS, but it's in exactly the same manner that is recommended in the IPS or the S-series standard, where you have these design reviews, you have agreed target levels for failure rates and mission success rates and the man hours to do maintenance for each flight hour and things like that that were agreed between the parties. And then for each milestone, new updates on all those aspects were gathered, and then a new assessment to make sure that the agreed requirements level could be met. So it was continuous field focus from all parties, all involved parties throughout the project, and the Gripen program also turned out to be very successful in terms of cost effectiveness. And of course, it was the same for cost, that there was a contractual level, and we could see that in the beginning they had a cost level that was above, and then they could do a lot of different measures to decrease that, and then it was for each milestone, and also with these in-between checkpoints, it was always a big part of the checkpoints, so to say, in the project. The standard also includes this type of checklists, where we have IPS elements here on the left, and we have the activities, and then deliverables for each activity, and which standard is describing how to develop this. So it includes things like developing a maintenance concept and a maintenance plan, and doing LoRa, providing LoRa reports, maintenance task analysis, and comparing alternative support concepts, and all those things that we talked about before. And the reflection here is that many of those will require the type of analysis that we talked about before. It will really be based on that type of analysis and trade-offs. So again, the S-series provide a lot of input and description of what to do, and then I think each project and each organization needs to build the capability and competence and have the tools and so on to make sure that cost effectiveness is reached for each of these. Here's another example of, actually this is just an illustration of that again, that this chart shows all the different parts of the S-series. So here we have the S3000L and S4000P and so on, and it defines the interfaces between those different standards. And this provides a very good framework and a network, but to reach the objectives, to have capability and readiness and cost effectiveness, you combine that with analysis capabilities to really work iteratively and evaluate and compare how you're reaching those objectives. In the end, the aim for both is really to achieve these well-informed and good decisions that always keep cost effectiveness in focus. Another example, this is from Ram-C, one of our most active customers in the US, and a very complicated diagram, and we will not go through it in detail. But what I wanted to highlight here is that in the center here we have all those typical tasks of IPS, for example, failure mode analysis right here, and we have maintenance task analysis and R&M prediction analysis, supply chain, TOC predictions, and so on. All that has to be done, of course, but then we have this orange line and the blue box there. It says ATOC, modeling, simulation, and allocation. So ATOC is availability and total ownership cost. So, and then it says trade-offs and design influence. So I think it's a good illustration that all this ILS work, of course, is required, and there's so many different types of tasks that will occur in these huge projects. But for each analysis and each evaluation, those decisions should be checked with to see how you impact the overall performance and the overall cost of the program during the life cycle. And this is the follow-on slide, more or less explaining the same thing, to work iteratively like this with the weapon system data, with your Ram-C report included there, and your specifications and so on. That is, of course, the basis. You perform your Ram-C analysis using the baseline and weapon systems data, and then you take the results from that and you do conduct fleet impact modeling and simulation analysis. And those are, if you have worked with OPUS, you will recognize that those are all diagrams from there. So that is the type of examples that they use to illustrate that. And then update the weapon system baseline based on the decisions that are made, and then work iteratively like that. So I think it's a good illustration of how to apply it together, the IPS standard and the analytical approach. So it's a huge standard, but I think it's if you want to learn more, the good advice is to start with the SX000I. It's really meant as an overview. So all these standards can be downloaded for free. So that's a good one to download. It's also 700 pages or so, but the first 150 pages are enough to get a good overview understanding of the standard. The rest is, a lot of it is really data formats and this XML model for data exchange. So to review that and read through and browse through that gives a very good first understanding of the standard and for how to continue looking at the others. Another reflection is that it is really meant to be tailored. So the responsibility lies on the IPS project team to take control of the work and take guidelines and so on and specifications from the S-series and apply it to the project based on the needs of the project. It will provide a very good handbook and a roadmap, but it's not a guarantee in itself. If you follow the S-series, you will get high quality and high cost effectiveness. It tells you the activities to do and checklists and so on for how to think and important aspects to consider, and sometimes also guides on steps and approaches, but it does not provide more advanced types of analytical methodology. And it also says specifically that it does not recommend tools, so it's more up to each party and each project to figure out what is most suitable and most applicable. It's also a fact that it's 7 different specifications, and quite different on how much depth and detail can vary a lot. And it's not so much specifically requirement, more recommendations and best practices. But there are some strict requirements, and those are, I think, interestingly, very much regarding the exchange of data, because I think it's one of the key points of the IPS is to facilitate transparency and clarity in the project. I think it's seen as a big success factor, and then exchange of data and clarity is of course a key thing. So it also talks about these official meetings that has to occur, guidance conferences between the end user and supplier, to agree on what specifications and activities and so on are applicable, and also defines what information to exchange and what party is responsible. And it also defines that an IPS plan should be put in place to make the planning, but also to document and communicate to all parties what has been agreed. So again, overall, this promotes clarity and also is meant to enable clarity to to define what things should be defined and or should be agreed and should be documented between the parties and stakeholders. Okay, and we are if we're looking at then this particularly on the exchange of data. Typically, we said we want to have the analytical capability, and we have data in some kind of format. If we start here with I think it's quite typical if you're running a project like that to have an IPS solution in place, if it's Eagle or SlickWave or Pennant or Simplicio or something like that. Then we have that standard. It's very good. There are some S3000L XML schema that defines exactly what data formats to use and how to exchange it. That's a very good format for taking data from these IPS solutions and putting it to OPUS. Of course, there is quite typically some other sources of data as well. You don't have all your, for example, your operational profiles and things like that in the IPS solution, and you may also have other information about your stock levels and things like that in other systems, for example in an ERP system or a PLM system. And then you want to combine that into the same model, and quite a very suitable way of doing that is to try to convert that into the same format. So you can have use some form of existing ETL tools. There are various extract, transform, load tools that can assist with that and transform the data into a suitable format. And sometimes you may have to develop some kind of pre-converter to make sure that you get that in a format that is suitable for export. I think it's very good to use a format that has been defined by the S-Series standard there. Or for that matter, the GAIA 0007 is the same way. It also exists an XML schema. So we are quite used to working with both of those. So I think that's actually the last slide, and I think it's a good handover point to the next presentation, which will be how we move from here over to OPUS Suite and about how to use our OPUS Suite Connect software. But before handing over, any questions on this presentation?
혹시 질문 없으세요? 바로 넘어갈까요?